Morgana, Gragas, very good at pushing back and denying the onslaught of engaging tanks.
The Braum passive and stun. Hero's entrance comes down for caps, as well as the Cosmic Radiance. All of a sudden, Unicorns on low. Glacial Fisher comes out from Hillisang. The fight splits in two. Chachi's running for his life as Hilly flashes defensively. Flash over the wall for caps. Soaz, flag drag done. Unicorns flash out to safety. Stand United buys some time. Broxer gets another. That's a fourth for Fnatic, and Exile's running for his life.
Mid-jungle synergy. Me and Caps are surely, if not the best, then at least top 2 or top 3 in Europe.
Insta flash on Broxer there, guys. Two-man knockup, the grounded from the miasma. The freest kill ever!
I think his ceiling is so high that, like, when he plays at his best, no one can touch him.
Caps is gonna take out Steel back. Vander gets popped back on. The double kill, the triple kill, and Caps is going crazy.
I love Caps. This guy is really funny. Well, I don't know why, but whenever he smiles, I just feel like smiling and I just laugh.
I think our match against Misfits is gonna be a lot about mid lane, but I think Caps is a lot better than Power Eagle.
Unleashed power comes down, but it simply will not be enough. Alfari's got the slam dunk available to him, doesn't even need it yet. Oh, Power of Evil's on a rampage. That's his 4th kill of the game.
No, I'm insanely happy with Maxor. I think we're on the same page, we understand the same champions, and we have an insanely good synergy.
There's a lot of trust between us, and he's a legend.
What? The Power of Evil Shockwave catches 3.
Going into Rift Rivals when it was said he was the best jungler in the EU, I thought that was a bit overrated.
I don't think he's better than me currently.
It's on the way in comes the black card. They get the fight afterwards. Maxwell, can you take it? Gets it! Missed it!
Maxor is pretty good, but I would not say that he's like by far the best or anything like that. We're just gonna have to not make any mistakes in the early game, and then slowly but surely Caps will take over the game.
I trust in my players a lot, and this is the best team I've been in. I'm gonna keep working hard, and we're gonna just smash every team.
All I want from you guys today is basically no fear. If you see a good chance to engage whoever it is, engage. 1, 2, 3, playoffs!
Welcome to an action-filled day here in the LCS. Splyce and H2K are fighting for first place in Group B, and today the two powerhouses clash on the Rift, with the winner climbing to the top of the standings. Everyone here is hyped. I see some Splyce Lines, I see some H2K, some Misfits, some Fnatic. Oh, Jinkuya for that. Jankos, he's a fan. He's drinking some water, I suppose, and it must be funny when they see those pictures again. They did that a couple of months ago, and now they might regret their stances.
Some of them, at least.
Some of them, but I like them all. Hello, I'm Sjokz, breaking down the action with Martin Deficio. A hype trailer, a bit of electro going on. We're getting a bit old for that, but the trailer was super hype.
I mean, you were kind of dancing around while it happened. So.
Hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, maybe you're not too old yet for that kind of stuff.
No, definitely not. And we're going to get some dancing moves on the Rift today. And yesterday we already did. Vitality, they put on their tap dance shoes and they took control of the 4th place as they beat Mysterious Monkeys.
In there, or?
Salsa, samba, everything you want. But anyway, Vitality, they beat the Mysterious Monkeys 2-0. And now, mathematically, Mysterious Monkeys cannot reach playoffs anymore. They can still jump to 4th place, and Vitality can still reach playoffs, but I think we have to be realistic here, and that seems like a tough goal.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see some more wins before we can start talking about playoffs for these guys. Instead, you know, you got to talk about the guys who are currently sitting in that you know, top 3 slot in Group B. You got Splyce, you have Unicorns, you have H2K all tied. It's actually kind of crazy because there's so many things that can still happen with it bouncing around. Everyone wants to get first place.
Yeah, same in Group A there. G2, they got a win yesterday, so they get 1 series closer to Fnatic. But Fnatic, they have a chance today to increase their lead when they go up against Misfits Gaming. And if we look at all 4 matches, not that it's already Judgment Day, we are only week 8, but it is getting close, and some of these teams need to prove that they can beat these top teams.
Yeah, exactly, because now you're playing your own group again, where, again, beating the guy just above you in the standings just means so much more than even beating a guy in the other group, because you are not only getting a win for yourself, you're also knocking him down a little bit, and the head-to-head might end up being important as well. So there's a lot of things right there for the top teams in Group B that's super, super awesome to look at, and it starts with Splyce versus H2K.
Indeed, right now, our first series, H2K and Splyce looking to get an edge in the close fight for first place. With 3 teams on the same series record, the stage is set for a dramatic finish in the final weeks, and we are going to put Deficio to the test of faith. Tell me, how is Group B going to end up before we go into playoffs?
See, I was very excited about, you know, getting the chance to make this prediction, and then I started hating it because I kept switching the teams around over and over. In the end, I ended up putting H2K first.
Oh my gosh!
This is the last time I will trust in H2K, but I put them first. They did save my hair because they beat G2 in one of those games. Splyce gets 2nd place right now. I think they're actually looking better and better. And Unicorns of Love, the main reason I put them 3rd is because they are struggling so much coming into this, you know, week 8. The meta no longer really suits them because it suits everyone else in the same way with the late game team fighting. It's kind of removed the strength from Unicorns of Love, and we haven't seen that early game improvement yet that can, you know, really give me that kind of belief that they will just bounce back quickly. So I think they might just take 3rd. It's gonna be super
that H2K or Splyce.
And also we had VoD saying Splyce will get first. There's another slap bet coming now.
I know that another slap bet.
Me and VoD, he says Splyce first, I say H2K first.
All right, and that's not gonna be just on the behind. But it might be...
I'm not gonna hit a fan in the face.
Yeah, that's true, but you do want to do it to VoD.
Definitely, VoD will get it straight in the face.
All right, so let's talk about the matchup. H2K versus Splyce, and if you have faith, then here is where it should be rewarded. They got a dominating victory last time Splyce and H2K met. That was all the way at the beginning of the summer split. And now, in the meantime, they haven't been able to beat G2 just last week. They haven't been able to beat Fnatic. They haven't been able to beat UOL, and they've consistently kind of faltered in the face of the top 3 teams. But the question is,
when you put it like that, it sounds bad.
Yeah.
When you put it like that...
So how are they going to beat Splyce today?
Obviously, when it comes to these series you just mentioned, a lot of them were very, very close, especially the G2 one last week. Like, it was a 2-1 win. H2K looked very good in 2 of the games. It was just the last game they kind of really faltered. Splyce is not as good as G2 right now, so I think it's going to be an easier task for H2K. But the main thing I'm looking at is just the early game. I think Jankos and Febiven together will be a stronger 2v2 duo than Sencux and Trashy in the early game, and I think that actually will give H2K the edge. And this meta, when you play all these tanks and big team fighting, it is much harder to kind of throw away the advantage because your team fighting is just so strong in the late game just through the champions.
Yeah, but Trashy also really fits into this meta. He loves that Sejuani, he loves that Gragas, so it's kind of equal there.
A lot of things are equal here.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard to predict this game, even though I give the slight edge to H2K just based on the early game, because I think while Trashy has stepped up his pathing quite a lot and he's actually able to find ganks, he's still a step under Jankos in terms of early game impact.
All right, so Deficio still has faith in H2K. We'll see what happens.
The
last time, absolutely. Well, we got 2 of the best teams in Europe facing off in this series. Let's leave it to the casters for picks and bans.
Thank you very much, Sjokz. And hello, everybody. I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined here at the casters by James O'Leary.
Who's not flip-flopping quite as much as Deficio. He'd make a great politician with that back and forth on H2K.
Oh, well, he's definitely got pandering to the masses mastered. Anyways, let's take a look at the players who are fighting on stage tonight, starting with Splyce on the blue side. They have side selection. They picked blue. I'm going to start this series by keeping a close eye on Kobbe. He's definitely one of the unsung heroes of Splyce, and he's having a great split.
In my estimation, actually now top 3. Undoubtedly, in my mind, I think as AD carries go, Kobbe has proven over the last few weeks, he deserves to be in that upper echelon. He's got stiff competition, though, today. H2K on the red side are going to be no slouches coming into a very important matchup.
And have they been cursed by the caster Deficio? He put his faith back in H2K. That was, of course, the end of split predictions. It does not necessarily hang on this result today, but for Prolly and the boys, tied at 6 series wins and 3 losses with Splyce, they cannot afford to get crushed because they've only got a 3-game difference advantage. They're at +8 games. Splyce are at +5. So as every game you give up starts to hurt your chances and maybe hurt the shot at a bye.
And the Analyst has talked about the record of H2K against top teams, and now that we're starting to count Splyce perhaps as one of those top teams, now H2K have to put up big numbers, big records against the Danish team here. So as we head into picks and bans for game 1, 7:14 is the patch we remain on here for the second week of play on the patch. A lot of tanks is what teams typically draft, but I want to see Splyce go with what they've been doing, drafting more towards 1-3-1 and split push setup with a scaling AD carry.
Well, it definitely worked for Splyce last week against Misfits. We'll expand on that in a moment or two. You can see some of the AD carry picks with the Tristana, with the Kogbe, Kobbe and Splyce, not afraid to play some of those champions that can do well into the tank meta we find ourselves.
Yeah, especially that Kogbe we saw them crush with in Game 3 against Misfits. We expect H2K to stick to a very similar draft pattern. Zac, the Caitlyn, at least actually banned out by Splyce for them, so we may even see a Rakan or something come out here as a ban for H2K. A lot of high priority picks still available in the jungle as well. My interest is what will Splyce hold as their highest priority champion right now?
Well, Sjokz removed from the pool means that Sejuani's still up and available, something we have seen a fair amount, and I'm really happy we're talking a little bit about Kobbe, and we're going to focus on him in-game, especially because it's a first pick Kalista. Very high priority and comfort pick for Kobbe.
And Kobbe and Mikyx have been dominant laners here. This Kalista is such a strong laning pick, likely to be paired with either a Rakan or an Alistar as this draft continues. But H2K have the option to go for the jungle pickup here if they want it. Sejuani would be one of the options. Gragas is another that is available. And H2K can even use that as a flex if they want to pivot it to topside. Doesn't happen very often because of how strong Gragas jungle is, but that option still needs to remain. We know Splyce like to put a lot of weight on Wunder's shoulders.
Absolutely, and Wunder can play those tanks, can play those carries. There's the Rakan that you mentioned, Stress, Sencux with a safe Orianna in the mid lane. Jungle pool at risk of being targeted now for Trashy. And last week when we had Trashy and Maxlaw in a little bit of a trash talk hype video, Gragas and Lee Sin with the big talking points, and neither of them really appeared. It was all about that Sejuani.
And Misfits estimated that Trashy was a Gragas one trick, and everything else didn't look quite as effective. Now, as you mentioned, Gragas has been taken away from him. The Sejuani may very well go, and we've got a scaling AD carry surprisingly on the side of H2K here. We know obviously it is in Nuclear's wheelhouse, but this is the pick we were expecting out of Splyce. But it's lane focus for Splyce, a little bit more later game focus for H2K with Tristana's siege power up against turrets.
Well, taking a look at the picks and bans, this is the first Tristana for Nuclear all year long. And let's see how well he's going to perform on that champion. Sejuani instantly removed from the pool. And you know, Stress, there was a lot of talk about Gragas, one trick, Trashy. Do you want to know what his win-loss is on Lee Sin?
Probably. Oh, on Lee Sin?
Take a guess, because we were saying, hey, he's only good on Gragas. It's banned away. Sejuani banned away.
It's actually going to be like 2-0 because I cast both games, or however many it was.
You're 100% right, but it's 3-0. He's
so
not
close.
dropped a game. So let's see if Trashy gets pushed into that Lee Sin. It is a possibility. However, we'll see which direction they go. All right, so Maokai Sejuani taken off the table. Sencux has removed LeBlanc from the mid lane. And one last ban here for Splyce.
And as we continue through the draft, as you said, one mid lane priority gone. I wonder whether we'll see top lane here with like a Camille potentially taken away. Both Splyce and H2K have put a lot of emphasis on Camille over the last few weeks in their draft. And she does provide that split push potential. It is the split pusher that's banned, not the Camille here, as Jack's banned away may signal a Jarvan pickup from Splyce.
All right, Splyce and Jarvan. Let's see whether or not Wunder commits to that. Has played it twice. He's actually lost both games he's played. H2K now need to reveal one of their solo lanes who can somewhat counterpick the Orianna. I used the term very loosely, very loosely. Or instead, Rumble, Odo. I actually don't think there is a more signature Odoamne champion.
That's fair, and I think Wunder now may look towards a Gnar to pick into this Rumble, something that will end up having side lane presence, can have team fight presence as well, and does okay. May still stick to the Jarvan, but it's a bit of a trickier matchup than you would anticipate.
As predicted. So, what's left for the jungle for Trashy? You know, the Lee Sin, we've already talked about
Jarvan
it.
jungle.
Ooh.
At this point, they're taking in the Camille as that split push threat, pairing the Jarvan engage out of the jungle. We have seen this happen a couple of times around the world over the last week or so with the Jarvan jungle being picked up. Still has decent presence in teamfights, just like any Jarvan. The reason we haven't seen Jarvan for a while is his early game trading got taken away from him. Against the Gragas, that's not so much of a problem anymore.
I thought we were playing League of Tanks, Stress. I only see Gragas as a main primary tank here. Yes, of course, Jarvan can build tanky. Definitely not your most traditional, and a lot of damage, hopefully a lot of fights.
And that's one of the reasons this Jayce pick comes out here, rounds out more AD in the composition from H2K, but we looked at a big segment yesterday looking at reasons tanks are so strong. Lethality users like Jayce eat squishy targets. You've got yourselves a Kalista, a Rakan who takes a while to get tanky. Even Camille isn't the tankiest until you get past 3 items, so Febiven looking for a big amount of damage from that middle lane.
Febiven has played Jayce 5 times this year. He's won 4 of those games, but this will be his first time playing Jayce in the summer split. Maybe we'll see those lethality items that were so heavily talked about in solo queue, but significantly weaker on stage. However, this could be a game where it could work for Febi if he starts snowballing. You can see the coaches on stage, Chivas and Prolly shaking hands as they step off the rift. Reminder, we're back to intra-group play. And this is a battle at the top of the table. 6 series wins, 3 losses apiece. You guys know how to vote. Decide who you're going to vote and jump on Twitter.
And the team compositions may sway you. Splyce running a 1-4 engage style setup around the Kalista, the Orianna, these types of picks for the fights. H2K on the other side have good disengage tools. Mobility from the Jayce, the Gragas ult, Rumble ultimate if you need to get out of a fight in a fix. With that scaling proponent that you're looking for. With that Tristana, it'll be interesting to see whether Splyce can find the fights using this Jarvan in the jungle.
Well, it should be able to. Point-and-click Cataclysm into Shockwave. That is the combination that I want to see. It is Splyce taking on H2K. And as both teams leave their respective fountains, let's look at some of these shenanigans early game. Splyce not traditionally been associated with strong early games for long periods of the team's history. I, however, was fairly impressed with their performance last week against Misfits and Trashy in particular, and even some scaling junglers. He had the ability to impact some lanes and counter gank and seem to be more present, more impactful in those early stages.
Absolutely, and I think the Jarvan is into Gragas a fine pick for this. We mentioned the early game earlier and how Trashy can then have the teamfight impact. I feel like this will be night and day compared to Sjokz Jarvan jungle yesterday. NIP versus G2, NIP just didn't really get going with the teamfight successfully, whereas this is a comp style that Splyce should be quite confident with. This is what they've been trying to do over the past few weeks, and I think this is where Trashy can now really have that impact in fights that we've come to know from him and expect, because that's what Splyce are going to need out of Trashy.
Yeah, and we'll see whether or not Trashy can enable Wunder. Wunder, by the way, 3 games on Camille. He's won 2 of them, and he's only died 3 times on this champion. So very, very comfortable. Going to be helping out as Trashy and Wunder starts on blue, fully spotted out by the ward, so information aplenty for H2K. And then no early sorts of invades, etc.
But you can see that Mikyx pushes forward in the bottom lane brush to make sure if Nuclear steps up without respecting the fact that Splyce are in here, they can actually get an engage on. But look, this is the early push of Tristana that can have this big impact. If you get the first minion as a last hit, the explosive charge just pushes back the wave faster and faster. So despite being there at level 1 earlier, Splyce gonna get beaten to that level 2 mark if they don't output a little bit more damage onto this wave.
Keeping a close eye on Kobbe and Mikyx, taking on Nuclear and Chei. We were praising Kobbe and his performance this split. It's going to be a little more challenging into Nuclear and Chei, who have been a fairly good duo at absorbing pressure. Entrance comes out, Chei gets the flay and the death sentence as well, continue trading back and forth, and Splyce come out worse for wear.
Yeah, that was Splyce attempting to utilize a level 2 spike that didn't exist anymore, and just kind of going by the book that, oh, on Rakan, you go aggressive at level 2 because you can get on top of the bottom lane duo. But the thing is, Nuclear actually was sitting back in the lane. He didn't have to use his jump. He didn't have to flash, nothing like that. So H2K just end up turning the damage back on Splyce, and that's where Splyce a little bit worse for wear on that exchange.
And of course, that's the Nuclear and Chei effect. They are a duo that's worked well, but now they're going to be ganked here by Trashy.
Jarvan's strength early on is great gank potential with the EQ combo.
Exhaust is coming down. Chei's got the flash already dropped it. The entrance comes out. Knockup is to follow. 150 HP. Trashy takes a tower shot, gives up first blood. It's done. It's over. Nuclear and Chei are on the board. Nuclear flashes forward. That's going to be a double kill. He even stops to auto the minion. Cool guys don't look at explosions, and Nuclear's got two.
That couldn't have gone much worse for Splyce. They tried to get into the engage early on. Kobbe ends up dying very early. So does Trashy. And then H2K with an easy turnaround. 2 kills onto a Tristana before 4 minutes is such an incredibly strong point for H2K now.
Here comes Jankos and Sencux. Oh, not going to follow the body slam, actually. Jankos played that one ever so safe and didn't concede anything extra.
That's the second tier on the mind games there of Jankos is body slamming in, doesn't use his flash because he's looking for Sencux flash for free there. Because if you don't flash it, typically you're dead. But here's the bottom lane engagement. Exhaust went on. Mikyx had to jump into tower range to connect with Chei. That was a beautiful play came through from Nuclear. Kobbe ended up trying to chase the kill, had his flash, had his heal, knew he was dead and just wanted to get anything. Didn't use his summoners, and from there, Nuclear cleans up the rest of the fight. That is a horrendous early game start, and we said we wanted to see some early game.
Dude, this is our fault. We started the show by saying Kobbe's playing so well. We're going to talk about Kobbe. We have like some fantastic stats on Kobbe. And then he goes and gives up first blood and gets dumpstered in a 2v3. But like legit caster curse. I'm so sorry, Splyce.
Terrible, I'll blame him. We talked about how good he was on Cogmore, on Varus. You know, these kinds of later game, the Tristana, they picked the Kalista. Now, I love watching Kobbe play Kalista, and honestly, Kalista in general, that lane dominance normally affords you a laning lead. Not so much this game.
Not this game. You can see those stats we were talking about in week 7. Nearly an 8 KDA, nearly 80% kill participation for his team. Just ridiculous damage per minute. And obviously, this time around, the game didn't go in his favor. But for anybody that watched the Misfits series last week, Kobbe and Mikyx actually gave up first blood against Hans Sama and Ignar, and then came back and like hulked out, and then destroyed that lane.
Killed
admittedly,
them 4 times in the lane and just took over the game. The difference here is we were sleeping on the H2K bot lane, and I think that's a big danger here. You look at Nuclear and Chei, they've kind of been in the middle of the road, where they've had some great performances and some disastrous performances, but you can't afford to disrespect them early on, otherwise they end up with a BF sword advantage. But middle lane, here comes Trashy trying to get Febiven. Flash came through, so Febiven was safe for now. Trashy, he's trying to reach, trying to stretch to get some of this lead back to Splyce's favor.
All right, so of course, Splyce, they're in a big hole. 1,500 gold, down 3 kills. If you look at the items, Kobbe's got himself an attack speed dagger, and Nuclear's got a BF sword. So there's a BF difference in what those bottom lanes can do. Nuclear's going to be very content and very happy to play defensive and just scale into this mid game.
I grew up with the children's story, the BFG, so I'm going to assume you mean friendly. A big friendly difference between the bottom lane AD carry
I grew up with
here.
Doom, and it meant something very different. Very different indeed, but it is a matter of perspective.
As long as you're not talking about the movie, because that was horrible. So.
And the perspective, was it Vin Diesel in that one?
No, it was Dwayne Johnson. It was The Rock. It was terrible. The less time we spend on that, the better. Because Val Kilmer, looking for his Raptor camp right now, as Trashy smites it away. Got it.
Now it's sending that message. Big Raptor, worth the smite indeed. Trashy and Splyce now playing from a 2,000 gold deficit. We need to see how well they can perform playing from behind. Reminder that they needed to reverse sweep last week as well.
And at 7.5 minutes into the game, the vision control bottom side here for H2K from this first blood and their set of kills is immense. They have wards all the way through the lower side jungle, and Splyce at this point can't really afford to actually invest in sweeping these away. It's too much time out of lane, too many control wards to get taken. The observers are showing us some of the vision there on that bottom side. That just means H2K have the full liberty to go into that jungle at any time, maybe even contest this next red buff.
Well, we haven't talked a whole lot about this top lane because, as you've mentioned, Stress, all the bottom lane plays, all the vision that H2K have set up. But Wunder on this Camille doing relatively well in a tough lane. He's down, 2 waves. in a disadvantageous matchup, and we'll have to expand on that in a second. There's a knock-up as Kobbe and Mikyx are running for their lives. Body slam flash comes out. Nuclear's gonna hop over the wall, and Mikyx's the easy target. Flash and exhaust still available to him. Not gonna use either. And that's the fourth easily picked up kill here for H2K.
That's exactly how you transition vision control into then further kills. You just move through the jungle. Febiven knows he can move out of lane quickly. Jankos knows he's practically unwarded on the way down to the bottom lane. They pick up another kill, and the Splyce bottom lane is really struggling here. This is all H2K need with this composition, is remember, this Tristana is to play for the late game. And they're accelerating that so incredibly quickly.
What I like about this H2K pivot as well, Nuclear and Chei won an early game play by turning around that gank. The moment they had the advantage, now you're starting to see Jankos invading for vision, setting up for ganks. There's support from Chei and Jankos as the lantern means that Jankos gets out safely, but H2K, a team who have not traditionally played around the bottom lane, are now playing around the bottom lane because Nuclear is so far ahead.
Exactly, it translates even into a turret from that, so they don't commit for the red buff, but Splyce had to commit to defend it. They brought Kobbe up towards the red buff area, they had to commit Mikyx as well. H2K easily take that turret in response, and everywhere else on the map is kind of neutral until the gang. No flash, remember.
All right, Shockwave pulls Feby towards the wall. Trashy and Sencux trying to run him down, and one more attack dissonance. And a martial cadence from Trashy secures Splyce's first kill.
That's the type of thing that H2K need to tighten up on now if they want to maintain this game, because, look, Sencux, you know his Shockwave is going to be available. Febiven knows his flash is not available at the same time, so that's pretty much where Splyce are going to go next. And it's an easy pick-off in the middle lane that is going to now slow H2K a little.
And that's kind of a Trashy special. One of the notes that we had as we were preparing for the series is Trashy is definitely sort of a mid-game type jungler, a level 6 jungler. Get that ultimate on champions like Gragas or Sejuani, or in this case, Jarvan, put down a Cataclysm and dunk. So, flash, quickness, Chei is the target, Mikyx's not done yet, Blast Cone's gonna be available. So well done! Mikyx, that was beautiful.
Beautiful, just hops him over the wall and all the way into the Splyce team. This has gone a little bit loose out of the H2K side. Chei warding on his own. Febiven not respecting the fact that his flash is down. H2K is still well ahead of this game. But these kind of mistakes are going to be what lets Splyce back into it, because we talked about their 1-4 setup. Trashy, Sencux, Kobbe and Mikyx can all start fights very quickly if H2K are too close on the map to them that allows them just to jump in.
Now, big investments from Splyce, but it's paying off. Small advantages. They're down nearly 4,000 gold stress at 12 minutes, 11 minutes even. That is monumentally large, and maybe a little bit of that fast and loose play. Nuclear gets the rocket jump down. Decent shockwave from Sencux, a sidestep on the death sentence. Can they turn it around? Cataclysm not available. And Jankos, or Febiven rather, able to escape with the use of the lantern.
Nice little play there by Sencux. The dodge plus the shockwave under towers H2K were chasing, basically running into that shockwave. Always one of the most dangerous things to do, running towards an Orianna who's sat under her own tower. But that safety of Sencux sitting mid is no longer absolute, because bot tower's down, top tower's down. H2K's next focus, once they've taken Rift Herald, is going to be put more vision control around that middle lane, spawn the Rift Herald, and look to crack the tower that sits behind Sencux. And from that point, this split push we want to see from Wunder is oh so difficult to make happen. He cannot afford to push out without Splyce getting vision for their own.
Such a difficult situation for Splyce. These difficult to execute team comps don't traditionally do well when behind. You really cannot afford to make mistakes, and just a reminder that the last time these two teams played was in week 1. And when that happened, Splyce got obliterated by H2K. It was a huge difference. It was a 7,000 gold lead at 15 minutes for H2K. So according to the last time they met, H2K are actually underperforming in this storm.
Business as usual, I guess. A little underperforming, I suppose that's fair. You can't really expect that too often, Trevor.
It is a horrible thing to say. And
you have some very high expectations.
I do. And so does Deficio. That's why I put H2K first in the group. Well, there you go. Stress, you mentioned the Rift Heralds come down. Oh, Mikyx jumps in with a quickness. Does not do a whole lot. and is forced to dash out to safety, but H2K extending that gold lead even further.
And with only one tank here, you mentioned it coming through, this is meant to be the League of Tanks. How does this work? Now you look towards the lethality users that at this point of the game should be quite strong. A Jayce who has himself the Ghost Blade will be able to deal with the likes of an underfarmed Jarvan, Kalista, these types of champions that don't have high resistances. There is no armor yet, so flat armor penetration is just fine. Also, the fact that it's going to end up scaling off your level as opposed to the target's level means if Febiven ends up accelerating past the rest of this game, he's a little behind right now, that's going to just be a crushing amount of damage that'll come from this Jayce.
I'm so glad you mentioned the levels. Nuclear had a 2-level advantage over Kobbe. Kobbe just dinged 8. So Nuclear will be relatively close to 10 himself, pushing that lead further. And I actually want to just bring some attention to our top laners, Wunder and Odoamne. We have actually ignored them for about 15 minutes, mostly because the game's not been played around them. And typical, as I want to talk about them a little bit, there's going to be some more shenanigans in the duo lane. We'll get back to that story. So, Flay comes out from Chei. Where's the death sentence? Gets caught, and Fate's call used just to pull him to safety. See, even our production team's like, hey, talk about top lane. And this is the matchup. When each respective player uses Camille, Wunder definitely performing well, still undefeated, 2-1 as I mentioned.
Wunder looked great last week on the Camille against Misfits. That 11-0-11 game in Game 3 was a big proponent of that massive crushing win from Splyce. Odoamne has put his own highlight plays up on Camille though, and this is why it's such a contested pick. Remember that quadra kill again against Misfits? Misfits seem to not have a whole lot of luck against Camille, but Odoamne's Camille has been impressive at the same time, so I'm looking to this maybe even to become a factor in Game 2. Could be a picks and bans factor as well, because both of these guys are maybe some of the better Camille players here in Europe.
I'm so glad you mentioned Game 2, because as we hit 15 minutes, Leandri's Torment for Odo, Ghost Blade for Febiven, Infinity Edge for Nuclear, and you compare that to Tiamat Sheen, Morellonomicon, and a Cutlass, there's just a gigantic power disparity here in favor of H2K.
Yeah, it's components. You look at the fact that Wunder is having to build some of the most expensive items you can out of Trinity Force, and Mikyx might be in trouble as well.
Mikyx's going to be able to escape for now. Takes that explosive charge to the face. It doesn't go down, but look at the pressure on tower. This will open it up for H2K.
Wunder's being contained in the bottom lane, Sencux contained in the middle lane, and Febiven's already roaming across. This allows H2K to commit to this because Trashy has nobody there to team fight with him. And it means that H2K are just breaking structure after structure because Splyce are spread too thin on the map. They cannot contest against the H2K push.
It's just insane how heavily H2K have snowballed this game from the bottom lane. One gank from Trashy was turned around. Jankos invested all that ward in, got another gank. There's a death sentence onto Trashy. He's able to escape this time round. Tower number 5 at threat here by H2K. And this is just... Actually, this is a near-flawless play from H2K.
It's been great, and the reason that they have this ease of execution here is the fact that Splyce, at this point in the game, they're trying to group the Jarvan, the Kalista, the Orianna, all of these champions together, and then buy time for Camille on the side lane. But the fact that they're being played on 3 lanes makes that near impossible. That means that Splyce will get antsy and are likely to full-on engage.
Wow, there's no tower left to defend. Tower's taken down. Sencux is going to get jumped backwards. A little bit of a flash and dash there from Mikyx using Rakan's kit, but H2K get an easy kill on Wunder. They get another tower, and they're just stomping Splyce. This is just a great demonstration of how good H2K can look when they're at their best.
Yeah, and we haven't seen this H2K at a regular performance because they've been facing top-of-the-table teams for a long time now. Wunder dies so incredibly quickly here. I think Splyce were actually looking to set up a play and get Wunder to jump in and maybe deny an H2K member's exit with the ultimatum, but look, there's nothing more to come through. The shockwave is beautiful. You can see the effect of what should be happening for Splyce, but when one member's already dead and the rest of Splyce are going backwards, they don't have the follow-up damage. And it's so much so that Splyce are now leaving some of the meta trends on Splyce's itemization, going over towards the Eye of the Equinox instead of a Talisman of Ascension on this Rakan. We haven't got a Righteous Glory yet on Trashy. We need to see some of these engage items, these tank items that make the meta so strong on the engage for Splyce to be able to even start taking these fights.
And they're thousands of gold behind.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time for Splyce to get there. Duskblade of Drakthar picked up by Febiven, as well as a static Shiv for Nuclear, so 2 item spikes hit for H2K.
And we're nearly at a very important one. We're talking about engage items. Look, Glacial Shroud, Crystalline Bracer, already in the inventory of Jankos. He's the recipe cost away, only a couple of 100 gold now from that Righteous Glory point. And that means H2K are going to engage. We talked about how they wanted to kind of disengage, but when you're this far ahead, why run away when you can run right over your opponents?
Okay, now, if you are an H2K fan and you want H2K to close this out well, now you start looking at that Baron and you say, don't make the same mistake, guys. Don't pull an EU Dignitas, or we just call it an H2K Baron. Now, it's not something they've been exceptionally guilty of in recent weeks, right? It was definitely a spring split problem. It's popped up once or twice in summer, but with this type of lead and a little bit of lack of focus, that's how you can lose the game.
And typically it's been on closer games than this. They've got good vision control tools as well. Look, 3 sweepers plus a Duskblade. They're likely to go back and buy more control wards. So there's going to be a point that when H2K actually commit to this Baron, it's going to have 2 control wards in it, no enemy wards. Other than that, they'll be making a mistake if they leave anything from Splyce still there.
Double flashes there from Trashy and Mikyx. Odoamne cancels his teleport. He was only in the bottom lane anyway. But they get Splyce pushed out of their own jungle. H2K look to set up their second Cloud Drake and move some of this priority to different lanes.
What Splyce must do in the next 3 minutes in order to really punish Odoamne for his cancel is force a fight when they see Rumble down in the bottom lane. If he makes a mistake here, not right now because there's only Trashy here, you need to engage on the rest of the H2K pack, but Trashy is the one that's getting engaged upon.
All right, the box is used. Chei and Nuclear not necessarily on the same page as Odo because he just started to overheat, wasn't quite able to throw down the equalizer. The zoning box allows the last outer turret to be secured, and the 8,000 gold lead of H2K at 21 minutes all but solidifies a siege on the base or a Baron bait. Force Splyce to come to you, use those double Cloud Drakes to position and set up your wards appropriately, and there's those control wards, so likely going to shift focus to this Baron.
Yeah, very likely, and that's why Splyce actually conceded their bottom tower. It was going anyway, don't make any mistake on that. But look, they put a bunch of wards down on the top side, even on a defensive stance in their own jungle, so that they won't get baited. Here's the engage we were talking about. This is very dangerous under the mid lane tower. Whoa!
Oh, that was opportunistic, and it did not work. Nuclear's on a killing spree. Barrel knocks Kobbe to safety as the summoner heal puts some additional distance. Equalizer slows down Splyce, and that's a good knockup. The shockwave is decent. Chei's already down, but the hammer comes down, and that's Febi getting another, his 3rd of the game. Odoamne roasts Wunder as Nuclear's on a rampage. He jumps forward. Now the inhibitor turret is the focus, and H2K are breaking open the base.
The massive gold lead turns around what should have been a beautiful team fight in the second half from Splyce. They connect with just about everything, but 9,000 gold behind means that H2K crushed through the rest of the fight. There wasn't going to be a better opportunity for Splyce to actually turn that back around. It means H2K fully in control. We said Splyce needed to find a fight, but look, H2K knew this. They're all 5 mid, meaning they're prepared for this fight to happen. Wunder wasn't in the fight yet, and it means that despite this turnaround, which is beautiful, H2K don't read the shockwave positioning in time. It catches 4 members of H2K in with then the Cataclysm. The ultimatum comes through, and Splyce, this is like great, this should be the team fight win, but Nuclear is dominating in this game, and there is no way to deal with him in a team fight this early on for Splyce.
Just the items, the difference is beyond phenomenal. You can see the damage, and yes, Sencux got a great shockwave, but when you get a great shockwave and you're down 9,000 gold, there's just not enough follow-up. As you mentioned, Wunder not able to do a lot. Actually, just before that fight had started, Wunder had dealt less damage than Mikyx and Chei.
Wow.
Going into that fight, the supports had dealt more damage. That is how disconnected and out of the map and the game Wunder found himself.
And this isn't strictly a League of Tanks thing that's setting up this game. This isn't the reason why H2K are winning. This is purely just a gold lead and being able to snowball it. But some of the things that lead into that, the likes of the Righteous Glory, the ability to engage, the catch potential for Chei to get a team fight started, means that opportunities like this for Wunder have been very few and far between.
Yep.
To be able to push up in the side lane knowing that he has the room, because the rest of H2K at the other side of the map has normally meant his team were hemorrhaging objectives.
Oh, Mickey! Fate's Call manages to get him to safety.
He's so fine. That's fine. He got out of that just okay, but that's still going to be the Baron start by H2K.
And it's one of those initiation tools that is no longer available. So H2K, with vision superiority, they're going to start off the Baron here. Sencux is going to need a gigantic shockwave to turn this around. Knockup comes down. Good damage onto Odoamne. He goes golden as Baron is secured. Teleport completes from Wunder on the side lane as the barrel splits up. Splyce, Febi with a double dunk. Hammer to the skies, and H2K turn their attention to the rest of the lane. Trashy's able to flag and drag to safety, but it is too little and too late as H2K are setting their sights on the Nexus.
Febiven is outputting a ridiculous amount of damage in these team fights. Just connecting with the Shock Blast, running right through. Now they got the Baron buff. This is going to be H2K pushing in for the win. Probably is going to be very happy with this execution. You couldn't get much more of a clean game from an early game lead to crushing it for H2K.
Absolutely. A few small missteps here and there from individual players on the H2K side, but truthfully, as a team, they pressed the advantage in the bottom lane, and they managed to roll across Splyce. Wunder goes for the hook shot into tactical sweep and finds nobody. And the game isn't over yet, but this was another look at the Baron fight.
Yeah, H2K bring Odoamne in early, deny the rest of Splyce's entry into the fight. Look, Wunder's TPing in now, but it's already gone. The Baron buff is gone. Splyce getting hit by these shock blasts that just chunk through Sencux health. This is what we're talking about, lethality, and just the sheer amount of earlier game damage from Febiven is so difficult to deal with. And I feel like the last 10 minutes of this game, maybe even 15, has been very deliberate from H2K on objectives. That's maybe one of the highest disparity damage in teamfight graphics we've ever shown.
I just love 116 damage from Jarvan. That's pretty impressive.
Threw the flag in.
Rakan on the quickness in his entrance probably dealt 320.
I'm pretty sure that was Trashy throwing the flag in, and then actually it was a white flag of surrender, and he was just running away from the Baron pit. Demacian standard, not really flying proud.
Right, not this time round. Chei still finds a death sentence onto Mickey. Fate's Call saves his life, and then that manages to save Kobbe for just a few more seconds.
Nuclear still alive.
Still alive on the back end with that rapid fire cannon and static shift. Trades his life with Sencux. Jankos gets the shutdown goal as Febiven fires from behind. 4 members of Splyce down.
Just easy back-to-back fights out of H2K. They've still got the Baron buff for another minute of this game. Death timers are 30 seconds long for Sencux. One Nexus tower stands. H2K, a very convincing game one.
Oh, what a fantastic performance. It all started with Nuclear and Chei outplaying on the bottom lane. And as a team, H2K rallied behind their leaders and shut down Splyce in game one.
I don't think many people expected that type of game out of Splyce and H2K. Everybody thought it was going to be a close one.
I did indeed. Febiven, very stern, serious look. Lost to leave the stage from the H2K members. And interesting at the end of the game, how focused and how driven the H2K members were, because during the course of the game, they were exceptionally happy, smiling, cheering. I kept looking up to look at them on stage, and they were celebrating each and every kill and victory.
I think that's interesting. It's something I was going to bring up before the game, but it didn't really fit in, is the fact I ran into Jankos backstage, and I was like, hey, how you doing? Stern look. And I was like, okay, either he hates me or H2K are incredibly focused. Turns out it's the focus, because that is an H2K we haven't seen in a long time.
It's very important. You know, a guy like Jankos, who he calls himself the jester. He calls himself a little bit of the joking man, but look at this team backstage. Gonna remind everybody what is at stake here. 6 series wins, 3 series losses apiece. I misspoke a little bit earlier. The game difference is +8, H2K +3 for Splyce coming into this. And that's going to be affected now by this particular game. So for H2K, they're in a good spot. Not going to let you talk because the analyst desk are ready to talk about how H2K had such a dominating win. Sjokz and Deficio, take it away.
Thank you very much. Parting ways there on the images of H2K being very, very calm and collected. Stress said Jankos, you know, he's very concentrated. So or they hate him or they were concentrated.
Yeah, because I actually saw Jankos before the game.
And it was the same thing.
No, he was super happy.
Oh,
he was
was
like,
he?
my best friend, you know, we had a little moment right there. So it must be some hate. Pretty sure it's hate.
Pretty sure it was a great snowball, and I do want to take time to kind of celebrate a snowball being played out correctly, because oftentimes we see teams getting similar advantages but not being able to close it out. However, let's first look at picks and bans, because not as many tanks as we had seen in games previous to this in the current meta. A lot of them are banned, and you quite liked the draft coming out of Splyce.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think draft was good from both teams in this one. The thing I really liked about the Splyce one was like Jarvan and Camille coming in at the end, because they were saving the jungle pick, so they're actually letting H2K spend so many bans on different tanks. And I was kind of going like, are they going to play like Kha'Zix here or something, which is probably not going to suit Trashy too well in this meta? But then they showed the Jarvan coming in as a little bit of maybe a surprise, or maybe it was expected by H2K and they just didn't care, I'm not sure. But I really liked that little play from Splyce. And I think overall their comp was actually good. They had a late game split push on Camille, they had a strong 4-man group as well. To sit and just try and hold H2K in the middle while Wunder would split push. Sadly, though, your composition doesn't matter when, you know, something goes wrong in the early game.
Indeed, a good draft from both sides, but we're just going to go to our one and only replay because this decided the entire game. Let's just look at it again and see if we can find some more nuances in what happened on both sides of the teams.
So I like the fact that Trashy's on the bottom lane for this gank here. Mikyx with the exhaust, really hoping that Chei maybe uses Flay too early or something, and then Trashy might be able to catch on to him. But we pause it right here because Splyce needs to make a decision right now. They see the flash from Chei. They know Chei's getting close to the tower. A lot of teams actually right now would then try and turn to the AD carry and try and force his flash, because they're like, oh, we're not going to chase the guy who's very close to his tower. Other teams will just back away and be happy with the flash and the advantage.
But not Splyce.
Not Splyce. They think because Chei's still outside of tower range, they can actually still go for the play with Mikyx's CC.
And where do they think all the CC is going to come from Mikyx, and they feel like they'll have enough damage then with the Jarvan EQ possibly and Kobbe getting hit? Or?
Yeah, potentially, like they think they have enough damage right there, but obviously it's also important to highlight that Kobbe right now is out of auto attack range from Chei. So if we just roll the clip and you're going to see Mikyx dive in, Kobbe hasn't entered auto attack range until now. So he got 2 autos off on Chei. And obviously Trashy right there, either you flash in instant and you try and get all the damage down, or you save, you try and get out. The problem is when you're diving a Thresh, and this happens in solo queue, almost every game I see a Thresh as well.
Oh, the fadeaway.
Yes, the fadeaway was awesome, but he will Flay hook. And the problem is if the first guy flashes away from the hook, the next guy in line gets hit. If he flashes, the next guy gets hit, and someone will get pulled under that tower and die. And Chei obviously just played it super well under pressure. Splyce had like 3 different options. Switch to AD carry, try and get his flash, back away, be happy with the flash they already got, or try and go for the all-in tower dive. They picked the third one, and it backfired and probably cost them the entire game.
Cost them the entire game, most definitely. Tristana came back into lane with a BF sword, a dagger on Kalista. Jankos could put all the wards down he wanted. Everyone could. Chei could roam all his heart desired. And we do want to praise the fact that H2K was able to snowball cleanly, because as said, a lot of teams will still give that game away.
Exactly. In the LCS, we have some color casters who like to be very negative and always look at what the other team did wrong and be like, oh, Splyce bot lane dive was terrible, then you gave a vision that was bad. But in this case here, H2K show why a lot of people and a lot of teams respect them so much when they get an early advantage. There have been games in the past where they would throw away this advantage, but most of the time they can set up this map here with that vision, with the way they're moving the AD carry and support around. Like Nuclear was part of every single kill in this game, because wherever they moved Nuclear, they would like get a tower or a kill. And they would always play around that and always keep Splyce so far down on the map, they couldn't really get any way back. And I think that kind of clean execution is just what we want to see from a top team. And yes, 3 kills early game means you have to win the game, but they still did it so fast without any chance of Splyce coming back.
Absolutely. A bit unfortunate for us. We'd want to see a very back and forth game with impeccable macro on both teams. It is a best of 3 indeed. SKT, no. H2K, close enough.
Same thing.
Are looking to take the lead in Group B. We'll see if they can close it out right after this. Basically SKT.
I mean, it's the same.
Exhaust is coming down. Chei's got the flash already dropped at the entrance, comes out. Knockup is to follow. 150 HP. Trashy takes a tower shot, gives up first blood. Oh no!
Holy fuck, you guys are smurfing as fuck.
Mupi is going to hop over the wall, and Mikyx's the easy target. Flash and exhaust still available to him. Not going to use either.
Just front line. We will win this fight.
I can poke, I can kill him soon. Oh, the fuck is perfect.
Teleport completes from Wunder on the side lane of the barrel. Splits up Splyce. Febby with the double dunk. That manages to save Kobbe for just a few more seconds.
Nuclear still alive.
Still alive on the back end with that rapid fire cannon and static ship. Trades his life with Sencux. And as a team, H2K rallied behind their leaders and shut down Splyce in game 1.